That text message seared itself into my vision, burning behind my eyelids as I stood frozen in my wedding dress, bouquet clutched tightly in my hand. Minutes earlier, I had just said, "I do," to the man I love. And now, in the quiet entryway of the church, surrounded by floating arrangements and the muffled laughter of guests in the main hall, I stared at the message on my phone, stunned. It was from Tate Lawson, my boss's son, the man who had made my life at work unbearable for the past 3 months. And he had chosen today, my wedding day, to fire me. I turned the screen toward Karen, my new husband. His response startled me. Not anger, not shock. A knowing smile instead curled across his lip. He squeezed my shaking hands, kissed my knuckles and said, "Check your phone later. Today is about us." I didn't understand his calm, not fully. I had just lost my role as lead project manager at the city's top architecture firm, the role I'd sacrificed sleep and sanity for over 2 relentless years. But there was something in Karen's expression, steadiness, confidence, that told me to trust him. So I powered off the phone, tucked it into my maid of honor's purse, and walked with Karen through the grand arched doors, greeted by a shower of rose petals and a cascade of cheers. 3 hours later, in the middle of our first dance, Nima, my maid of honor, sprinted over, wide-eyed. "Waverly, your phone won't stop going off. You have over 100 missed calls." I pulled it out and froze. Dozens of calls from coworkers. 17 from a number I recognized immediately, Gregory Lawson, the founder of Crescent Design Studio, Tate's father. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a firing. It was the start of something far bigger than I could have predicted. Before I go on, if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. A lot of people listen and never engage, which means the algorithm might not show you the next chapter. And trust me, you'll want to know how this ends. Now, back to my wedding day. My name is Waverly Abrams, and until that fateful text, I was the cornerstone of Crescent Design Studio. I'm one of those people who color-code their calendars, memorize building codes, and can spot a flaw in a blueprint from a mile away. My coworkers called me the database because I remembered every detail. Client preferences, permit deadlines, budget breakdowns, everything. My parents were teachers. They taught me to value precision, commitment, and grit. When my dad suffered a stroke during my freshman year of college, I almost dropped out. Instead, I doubled my course load, took night shifts at a print shop, and graduated with honors in architectural project management. I even specialized in computer systems and urban planning. That's how I ended up at Crescent. Gregory Lawson saw potential in me. He brought me on to update their outdated project management systems. I didn't just upgrade them, I rebuilt the entire thing from scratch. A proprietary system that tracked every version of every plan, every request, every approval and dollar spent. Our project timelines shrank. Clients were thrilled. Gregory once called me his best hire in a decade. Then came Tate. Tate Lawson, 32, had drifted between departments in his father's company, never lasting long anywhere. He had Gregory's stature and charm, but none of the drive or vision. 3 months ago, Gregory announced his semi-retirement and named Tate director of my department. Overnight, everything changed. Where Gregory encouraged collaboration, Tate hoarded control. Where Gregory publicly praised my work, Tate erased my name from presentations. I tried to share my system with the broader team, training sessions, documentation, everything. Tate canceled it all, calling it a waste of money. I met Karen during that chaotic time. He worked at the city's permit office, the rare person who cared enough to actually review architectural submissions thoroughly. What began as blueprint conversations turned into coffee chats and long dinners. He was a calm island in the storm of my work life. What I didn't know then was that Karen had started noticing irregularities in the submissions coming from Crescent, specifically the ones Tate had handled. He'd been quietly tracking dangerous alterations. Safety features removed, materials downgraded, things that wouldn't pass any real inspection. 2 months into dating, Karen proposed. We planned a small wedding. Partly because we weren't flashy people, and partly because I sensed something was coming. Tate had started muttering about restructuring. But I never imagined he'd go this far. Not on my wedding day. Back at the reception, I slipped away to the bridal suite and finally listened to Gregory's voicemails. Waverly, this is Gregory. Call me immediately. Tate had no authority to fire you. This is a huge mistake. We need you. The next few messages grew more frantic. The downtown revitalization project is due Monday. No one can access your system. Tate doesn't know the credentials. We're stuck. Then came the last one. Gregory's voice, stripped of its usual confidence. Waverly, the West Side team is threatening to pull out. We can't locate the latest renderings. Tate's password didn't work. We're completely frozen. I sat on the velvet couch, wedding dress cascading around me, and something strange stirred in my chest. Not panic. Power. For 2 years, I had been the architect of a system that ran the entire firm like clockwork. And thanks to Tate's insecurity, no one else knew how to use it. He'd shut down my training sessions, deleted documentation, dismissed every safeguard I proposed. Only I knew the blueprint. Karen found me there, still holding my phone. He sat down gently beside me. There's something you should know, he said. The plans Tate's been submitting? He's been altering them after engineering approval. I've got proof. Every substitution, every safety omission. My stomach dropped. That's criminal. Karen nodded. I was going to report it next week. But now this changes everything. He's pushed you out, yes. But he's also freed you from liability. And Crescent's crumbling without you. What do we do? I asked. Nothing. Not today, Karen said, smiling. Today we dance. Tomorrow we fly to Bice. And when we're back, we change everything. And so we danced. By midnight, I had 212 missed calls. Through our honeymoon, the calls kept coming. I didn't answer a single one. Gregory's messages turned from pleading to desperate. On day 3, he offered to triple my salary. I deleted the voicemail. On day 5, he offered me part ownership of the firm. I didn't reply. Karen never questioned my silence. He understood. This wasn't about money. It was about dignity. You know, he said as we watched the sunset on our last evening in Bice, the city's consulting department is short-staffed. They need someone who understands architectural systems. Someone who could build protocols to catch fraud before permits are issued. I turned toward him, intrigued. Are you saying? I'm saying, start your own consulting firm. Make the city your first client. Let them pay you to design safeguards that would have caught Tate's shortcuts. The idea sparked instantly. I spent our flight home drafting a business plan. 3 days later, I registered Precision Protocol Consulting. Within minutes of the registration going public, my phone rang. Gregory Lawson. For the first time in 2 weeks, I picked up. Waverly. Thank God. We're in chaos. Clients are leaving. The downtown project is stalled. Please, name your price. I'm sorry to hear that, Gregory, I said calmly. But I'm not available for hire anymore. I've started my own firm. Then we'll hire your firm. Whatever it costs, we'll pay. This time I smiled. Now I was the one setting the terms. I let the silence linger between us, letting the weight of my words settle. My first client is the City Planning Department, Gregory. I'm designing a new system for verifying architectural submissions. The sharp breath he drew and told me he understood instantly. If I was working with the city to build improved safeguards, I would almost certainly uncover the dangerous changes Tate had made, if Karen hadn't already reported them. Waverly, please, Gregory said, desperation creeping into his voice. Tate made a serious mistake. He was jealous of your relationship with me, of your talent. Let me try to make this right. But I shook my head slightly. Some things aren't fixable, Gregory. Some bridges don't rebuild. They just burn and become ash. I ended the call and turned to Karen, who had been quietly standing nearby, listening. Is it wrong that felt good? I asked. He smiled gently. No. It's not wrong to protect yourself, or the public. The following week, I began my official contract with the city. With my knowledge of how firms like Crescent operated, I quickly spotted the weak points in their submission review process. I created new systems designed to detect unauthorized changes to plans, especially any structural alterations made after the engineering sign-off. As part of my initiative, the city launched an audit of all recent submissions. Unsurprisingly, they found major violations in Crescent's downtown project, particularly in the plans Tate had submitted. Load-bearing walls were slimmed down, foundation specs were altered, safety features removed to save money. The investigation moved fast, and it was damning. The downtown redevelopment project was pulled from Crescent and reassigned to a competing firm. Tate didn't just lose his job, he was blacklisted across the industry. His professional license was suspended pending further review. Crescent, once one of the most respected names in the field, lost millions. A legacy built over 30 years collapsed in a matter of weeks. Word reached me through the industry grapevine that Gregory suffered a minor heart attack from the stress. Oddly enough, the news didn't bring me satisfaction. Gregory had once been a mentor. He had supported my ideas, trusted my innovations, until his blind faith in his son clouded his judgment. Meanwhile, my new consulting business flourished. Within 6 months, I had contracts with 3 major municipalities. Demand kept growing, and I began hiring a team to help keep up. Karen earned a well-deserved promotion at the permit office, credited for his ethical stand. We bought our first home, a fixer-upper with strong bones and endless promise. Much like the life we were building. Then, exactly 1 year to the day after our wedding, a thick, cream-colored envelope arrived at my office. Inside was a handwritten letter. From Gregory Lawson. Dear Waverly, it began, there are some debts that can never be repaid, but acknowledging them is the first step toward atonement. This past year, I've tried to rebuild what Tate and my own failings tore apart. He's completed a professional ethics course and now works in a junior position, closely supervised. He understands now what his actions nearly cost, not just Crescent but the public. The company has undergone major changes. New leadership, new procedures, and an entirely new culture. We've overhauled every process. He went on to say he wasn't asking me to return. He knew the bridge between us may be irreparably burned. But he asked if I would consider consulting, helping ensure their changes were truly effective and ethically sound. Whether you say yes or no, he wrote, know that I respect you more now than ever. You were right to protect the integrity of our work, right to demand better. That evening, I showed the letter to Karen. What do you think? I asked. Should I meet with him? Karen considered it carefully. What would be your reason? Closure? Curiosity? Vindication? I thought about it. All of the above, maybe. And to see if change is truly possible. Then I think you already have your answer, he said. I scheduled the meeting for the following week. When my assistant told me Gregory had requested it take place at Crescent's office instead of mine, I hesitated. Walking back into that building felt like returning to a battlefield. But curiosity got the better of me. When I arrived, the receptionist, a new face, greeted me with warm professionalism. Miss Abrams, Mr. Lawson is waiting for you in the main conference room. As I walked through the hallways, I noticed obvious changes. New team members, redesigned workflows visible on mounted screens, an atmosphere that felt more open, more intentional. Crescent really had started over. The conference room door was already open. Inside, Gregory stood to greet me, but I was surprised to see Tate seated beside him, eyes downcast. His posture was stiff, a far cry from the cocky stance I remembered. Waverly, thank you for coming, Gregory said, extending his hand. His grip was steady, but the lines on his face had deepened. Stress had clearly taken its toll. I took a seat across from them. "Your letter was unexpected," I said. "So was the education this past year," Gregory replied. He glanced at his son. "Tate has something to say to you." Tate finally looked up. The arrogance was gone from his eyes, replaced with something unfamiliar. Shame. Or maybe it's beginning. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "What I did, firing you like that, sabotaging your work, taking credit, it was wrong. And dangerous. There's no excuse." The words sounded practiced, but the emotion behind them felt real. "Still, apologies don't undo the past." "Apology noted," I said, my voice neutral. Gregory cleared his throat and slid a folder across the table. "We've rebuilt this company from the ground up. New safety checks, new review systems, revised leadership structures. Tate is no longer in management, he's starting fresh." I opened the folder. Inside was a detailed outline of Crescent's new protocols. Impressive, honestly, and a contract offering a significant consulting fee for my evaluation and recommendations. "We're not asking you to return," Gregory emphasized. "Just to help us ensure we don't repeat our mistakes." As I was reviewing the documents, Tate suddenly stood. "There's one more thing," he said, then left the room briefly. He returned with a smaller envelope, which he placed before me with slightly shaking hands. Inside was a check, matching the exact cost of my wedding, down to the last flower. "How did you know this amount?" I asked, wary. Gregory looked sheepish. "Your wedding planner is a friend of my niece." I asked for the total. I wanted it to be exact. Tate spoke again, more steadily this time. "Consider it a real gift, the one I pretended to give a year ago, but didn't earn." A flare of anger passed through me. Did they really think money could undo what had been done? Buy back the trust they'd shattered? Before I could speak, Tate added something else. He placed a USB drive on the table. "This belongs to you. It's the complete version of the system you built. All the code, the passwords, everything. We tried to replicate it, but it never ran like it did under you. You can take it. Or delete it. Your choice." I stared at it. The tiny drive that represented 2 years of my effort, used against me when Tate shut down my trainings and kept others from learning it. And now, there it was, being returned. Looking at the two of them, Gregory, broken by consequence, and Tate, humbled by failure, I realized something profound. Revenge doesn't always require action. Sometimes it's just living well. Sometimes the best vengeance is watching those who wronged you face the wreckage they created. I closed the folder and stood. "I'll review your proposals and respond within a week," I said. "My consulting rate is triple your initial offer, paid in advance. My team will need full access and complete transparency." Gregory nodded without hesitation. "Agreed. And one more condition," I added, locking eyes with Tate. "You will personally complete every single training module I assign, no matter how basic or how long it takes. You'll learn proper project management, ethical submission, and full regulatory compliance. You'll become the expert in doing it right." Color drained from his face, but he nodded. "I understand. Then we'll talk." I gathered my things and walked toward the door. Just before leaving, I paused and looked back. "Oh, and Gregory? The check isn't necessary. Watching your son learn integrity is gift enough." Then I walked out of Crescent Design Studio, head held high, leaving the check untouched. But my story didn't end there. That evening, while Karen and I were having dinner, my phone buzzed with a news alert. The firm that had taken over the downtown revitalization project, the one Crescent lost, was now under investigation for bribery. Allegedly, they'd paid off city officials to rush approvals, even with serious flaws in their plans. "Did you know about this?" I asked Karen. He shook his head. "Just came in today. It's a state-level investigation." I stared at the screen, mind racing. If that firm was found guilty, the downtown project would stall again. Millions in funding would freeze. Construction crews would lose work, and the community that had been promised transformation would face yet another delay. Maybe this is why Gregory reached out when he did, Karen said. He saw it coming. He's hoping Crescent can reclaim the project. And just like that, I understood. I hadn't just been invited to review a company's policies. I'd been handed the power to shape an entire city's future. Ask ChatGPT. The truth landed with the weight of a sledgehammer. This wasn't just a consulting offer made out of admiration or remorse. Gregory was reaching out because he needed my systems, and my credibility, to take advantage of his rival's collapse. I felt that old sting again, of being manipulated for someone else's gain. Karen, sensing my mood, asked, "What are you going to do?" I pushed my plate aside, no longer hungry. I need to sleep on it. This isn't a decision I can rush. But rest didn't come. All night, I turned over every detail in my head. The meeting, Tate's apology, Gregory's proposal. Were they sincere? Was Gregory finally prioritizing ethics, or was he simply scrambling to salvage what remained of his career? Most of all, I had to ask myself, what role did I want to play in what came next? By morning, I knew. At 7 a.m., I called Gregory. "I've reconsidered," I told him. "I'm not interested in being a consultant for Crescent." He was silent, and the disappointment in his pause spoke volumes. "I understand," he said at last. "However," I added, "I am open to something else. A partnership." "A partnership?" he echoed, surprised. "My firm will manage all project oversight, regulatory compliance, and safety verification. Crescent can handle the creative and construction element. We remain separate entities, but clients will see us as a united front. I retain autonomy, and together we ensure integrity is baked into every step." "That's not a typical arrangement," he said cautiously. "And neither was firing someone on their wedding day," I replied. "I won't return to a company where I could be undermined. But I will help see the downtown project done right. That neighborhood deserves it." Another pause. "And what about Tate? How does he fit into this?" "He works for you, not me. But anything he's involved with goes through triple review from my team. That's non-negotiable." "I'll need to discuss this with the board," Gregory said. "You've got 24 hours, I told him. "After that, I'll take my own proposal to the city." When I ended the call, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, full control of my future. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was shaping what came next. Less than a day later, Gregory called back. "The board has accepted, with one condition. They want a minimum 3-year agreement. 2 guaranteed, with an optional 3rd depending on jointly set benchmarks." I agreed without hesitation. With that, Precision Protocol Consulting secured its largest client to date. 2 weeks later, Crescent's competitor was officially removed from the downtown revitalization contract. Our new alliance was ready, armed with revised plans, upgraded safety measures, and a robust management system combining the best of my original design with enhanced safeguards. The city awarded us the contract, partly due to our unique partnership model that balanced innovation with accountability. Tate was assigned the role of Junior Project Coordinator, a full 5 rungs below his former title. Each morning, he received a training module from my team. Each evening, he completed assessments. If he failed, he repeated the lesson. To my surprise, he never protested. He tackled every assignment seriously, asked thoughtful questions, and began to show real understanding, not just of the rules but the reasons behind them. 3 months into the project, I arrived early at the construction site for an inspection and found Tate already there, checking the concrete pour specs against the approved plans. "You don't need to personally verify that," I told him. "That's the site engineer's job." He straightened, clipboard in hand. "I know. But I need to learn everything from the ground up if I want to do this right." I studied him. The cocky young man who once dismissed my systems had been replaced with someone humbler, someone learning. "Why did you do it?" I asked suddenly. Why fire me on my wedding day? He flinched but held my gaze. Because I knew you were right. About everything, the protocols, the documentation, the oversight. I couldn't stand how important you'd become to my father. So I lashed out. He looked down. I thought hurting you would make me feel powerful. Instead, I destroyed something that might have been the best mentorship I ever had. His words hung between us, raw and honest. You can't change what you did, I said. But you were right about one thing. I would have been a good mentor. I still could be, if you earn it. He looked up, a flicker of hope in his expression. How? By prioritizing safety and ethics above your ego. By learning, not pretending to know. By choosing accountability over shortcuts. I can do that, he said. I will do that. I nodded. Then show me what you found in those poor specs. For the next hour, I walked him through the correct procedures, explaining not just what to do, but why it mattered. He absorbed every word, asking the right questions and showing a mind more capable than I'd once thought. As the workday began and the site filled with activity, Tate hesitated and asked, Do you think you'll ever really forgive me? I paused. Forgiveness isn't guaranteed. It's something earned over time through consistent behavior, not apologies. Show me who you're becoming. He nodded, accepting the challenge without argument. Over the next few months, the project advanced ahead of schedule. Our unique partnership drew national attention, with other cities inquiring about replicating the model. My firm grew to 15 staff members. Crescent, under its restructured leadership, began restoring its credibility. Gregory held firm on Tate's development plan. The man who once derailed our training efforts now led them, ensuring his colleagues not only followed procedures, but understood why those protocols existed. 6 months in, Raina, my former assistant, stopped by my office. She'd stayed with Crescent and now worked closely with Gregory. He wants to promote Tate, she said without introduction, to assistant project manager. I raised an eyebrow. And he sent you to gauge my reaction? She smiled. He sent me to get your honest opinion. Tate completed every training module with top mark. His reports are flawless. And, believe it or not, the team respects him. I trusted Raina's judgment. And what's your opinion? I think he's changed, she replied. And responsibility might cement that change. I considered this, then leaned back. Tell Gregory the first support the promotion, on one condition. Tate handles the upcoming community presentation solo. Let's see how he performs in front of the people who really matter. The presentation took place a week later. A pivotal moment where we'd update local residents on the project's progress, explain how their feedback had shaped the design, and answer difficult questions. I attended discreetly, sitting in the back of the community center. Tate arrived early, setting up visuals, personally greeting attendees. At the podium, he surprised me. He was visibly nervous. The old Tate would have masked it with arrogance. This one admitted it openly. Good evening. I'm Tate Lawson, Assistant Project Coordinator. Some of you may remember when this project fell apart last year. That failure was partly mine. Shortcuts I took that compromised safety and betrayed your trust. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. I'm not just here to present progress, he continued, but to assure you, we've built accountability into every phase. Nothing gets constructed without triple verification. Our partnership with Precision Protocol Consulting ensures that what we build meets the highest standards. He detailed the updates, highlighting where community feedback had led to specific design improvements.